Hello world, welcome to my kitchen. So tonight I am making some pepper steak, and I'm making pepper steak for Sunday dinner with the family. So I am going to flip this around and show you my little recipe here. Okay, there's my bowl. I've got weird stuff that it wants me to do here. Hi, how are you? Okay. Here's my recipe for pepper steak. Now this is a recipe that I found that I have kind of modified. So what I'm adding here is a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. This is the regular soy sauce. You can use the low sodium if you like low sodium. I like sodium, so sorry. I'm using the regular. Then it asks for 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. This is the, you know, the one that comes in the bottle, already ground. If you're using fresh ginger, you can use 1.5 teaspoons. But for the one that's already made, you just want 1/2 teaspoon. Then this calls for 1 pound of chuck steak. Now I have used that before many times, the chuck steak, but I found this in the grocery store. This is, I think it's called round steak or something, but it's steak, it is meat that is already cut into strips, and it says for stir fry or fajitas. So you can usually find it, at least in Publix, already cut in strips for stir fry or fajitas. Then I cut them in about thirds. So what I'm trying to do is find a bite-sized piece. It's just so much faster. If you want to get the slab of chuck steak and cut your own, feel free. But this is so much faster. I'm going to take some black pepper. I'm not measuring it. I'm just putting some in there. And then I'm going to stir that up. Then I'm going to take this meat, and this is a little more than 1 pound. I don't do it exact. This is what was in the package, so, you know, not doing it. It doesn't have to be that exact. So I'm putting it in there and stirring it around so it will kind of marinate for a minute or two in this soy sauce. This makes such a good meal. So what this is going to have in it is this meat with soy sauce and the ginger, a little black pepper. It really doesn't need salt because you have salt and soy sauce is salt. And then it's going to have some bell pepper and onion in it. Now the recipe calls for green bell pepper, and it calls for green onions, and it also calls for tomato, which I've never put in it, and it calls for celery. Okay, I didn't buy any celery. I keep forgetting it has celery. I hardly ever put celery in it. So what I did instead is 1 green pepper, bell pepper, 1 red bell pepper, and an entire Vidalia onion. So here's how I have them all chopped into bite-sized pieces. That's what I'm going to do. It's not going to have any celery. I didn't use green onion. I used Vidalia and a red and a green pepper. That's what I bought. That's what I have. That's just what I wanted to do. And so there's what I did. So you don't have to have it exactly 100% like this recipe says. I have, as you see, I have, over time, I've modified it to fit what I want. So I now have, on the stove, I have a skillet that I have some, it calls for vegetable oil, like a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. I've actually put a 1/4 cup of coconut oil in here because that's supposed to be healthier for you. So I have a 1/4 cup rather, of coconut oil in this pan. It's just very little. And I have that heating here on the stove. And once it gets kind of hot, I'm just going to take this meat and the sauce, the meat and the soy sauce. I'm going to dump it in that pan. Then the secret to this is, it doesn't tell you to, well, it does kind of tell you to do this in the recipe, but the secret to this is you want the meat to be tender. To get the meat to be tender, you've got to cook it for about 1/2 hour. Simmer it for about 1/2 hour covered. If you just cook it until it's cooked through, it'll be kind of tough. So the way to get meat tender, I saw that on the cooking channel or something one time, it said it breaks down the fibers and something in the meat, is if you simmer it on low for about 1/2 hour or so. And so just at least 1/2 hour and see if it's tender. So once this heats up and we're almost there, I'm going to put that meat in that pan. Now, you can take like a drop of water on your finger, flick it in there. If it doesn't sizzle, it's not quite ready, but we're getting there. Turn it up a little bit, and you want it to kind of like stir fry, like pretty quickly. So I'm going to get a wooden spoon. This is actually a bamboo spoon. I love these bamboo spoons. Have you gotten any of these? I like them because they don't discolor like the wooden ones do. They seem to be sturdier, hardier or something. I really like these. I love the bamboo. That's what my cutting board is too. This cutting board that I have, it's a bamboo cutting board. I love, it's harder than wood. I love bamboo. It's hard to believe that this is a grass. And yet it makes such a hardy, sturdy cutting board. It's kind of the thing now, bamboo is. Okay, it looks like it's getting hot now. Let's try. Okay, now that went, okay, hear that? All right, it's ready. So I'm going to take this meat in the soy sauce. I'm just going to dump it in here. Stir it around. You want the pan hot like that. Cool it down real quickly. So I usually turn it up for a second because the meat's kind of cold. It is really better, they say, to start with room temperature meat. I just hate the thought of leaving it out at room temperature, though. If you hear that noise, I just have my vent on. So I've got it turned up, and we'll wait till it really starts going to town. Then I'm going to turn it down, and I'm going to cover it for about 20 minutes. Now, I'm not going to put these in right away because I don't want to cook these half an hour because that's going to cook them all down to utter mush. So I'm going to cook that about 20 minutes, the meat. And then I'm going to add this and cook it about 10 more minutes. So it's really steaming pretty well here now. I try to stir it and turn the pieces so they get browned before we do anything else. So while I'm getting it up to heat, I want all the sides browned as much as I can get. So just kind of flip it around. I don't think it has to be so exact perfect. Just kind of try to flip your meat around a little bit here. You see a pink part, turn it over. I suppose if you wanted to make this vegetarian, you probably could find a way to do that. I don't know, is soy sauce vegetarian? Does soy sauce have a meat product in it? I don't even know. But if you wanted to do this without meat, you could probably use tofu. You could probably use some kind of beans if you really wanted to. I'm sure you could adjust this with something. If you're used to cooking vegetarian, I'm sure you have something you could still use if you wanted to use soy sauce. That you could still use to make this. Now, what I do with this is I serve it. Now, see, we're all pretty much getting close to being browned. I serve this either over mashed potatoes, which I love it over mashed potatoes, or I serve it over rice. It's good over rice or mashed potatoes. Okay, so there it's pretty well browned. So then I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to put on this lid, and I'm going to cook it for 20 minutes. There we go. Now, while we are waiting, I'm going to go ahead and make a lemon chiffon pie. I made one of these on live before, but we have to do something, right? So I might as well make this pie. And that is what I was planning to make a pie. There's my pie plate. Let's see what we have here. Oh, let me get a bowl out of here if I can do that without knocking that down. There's a bowl. So then I'm going to get my graham cracker crumbs, and sugar and butter is what goes in the crust of that. Now you see that how easy that pepper steak is. It doesn't have very many ingredients, and you basically dump it in and just let it simmer. It's done. It's a really quick meal. So if you ever want a quick meal, it basically takes half an hour. If you're going to cook it, let it simmer to be tender. That's it, half an hour. That's a pretty quick meal, actually. Okay, so I'm going to take that. I am looking for my graham cracker crumbs. Here they are. Okay, I've got a little bit of those left. I like this pie, lemon chiffon pie. Let me find where my recipe that is. I like it because you don't have to turn on the oven. It's like an icebox pie, refrigerator pie. It means you mix it together and you don't have to cook it. So this is a perfect 1,000-degree summer pie. which is what our summer feels like right now. If you're in Southwest Florida, our heat index has been like 112, which what that means is we stay indoors or you go outside and die. All right, here's my recipe. Okay, so you need a graham cracker crust. Well, that's what I gotta get first, the graham cracker crust. So here's my pie crust recipe. I need a cup of graham cracker crumbs. Here's my cup. Let's put it in the bowl. So if I make a mess, can you see what I'm doing? Yep. If I make a mess, it makes a mess into the bowl. Okay, there's a cup of graham cracker crumbs. Well, I have like a tablespoon left. Oh boy. Okay. Then it's 3 tablespoons of sugar and 4 tablespoons of butter. So let me get my tablespoon. 3 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2. I'm not trying to measure that into the bowl. I'm just dumping it in that cup. I'm just dumping it together. There we go. Just trying to get it all into that bowl. Then let's take a little spoon and stir our sugar and crumbs together. Kind of stir it around. Then I'm going to take a bowl and I'm going to melt the butter in the bowl. So that's a half a stick of butter. Here we go. Half a stick of butter. And I'm going to melt that in the microwave. I'm going to try 30 seconds and see how close we get. Then here is my pie pan. I'm going to spray that. This lid does not stick on this spray. You can butter it, spray it, whatever you like to do. That's faster. I find that sometimes with the butter it still sticks. I don't know why it still sticks. Okay, that's not quite melted. We're going to do a few more seconds. Now you can bake this pie crust in the oven for like 6 minutes at 375 if you want a kind of crispier crust, but I am trying to do the non-oven version, so you don't have to. So you melt the butter, you mix in the crumbs, stir it together. So all I'm going to do is put this in the refrigerator to firm it up once I get it in the pan. And you just want to moisten all the crumbs with the butter. So we have already had 5 minutes go by of our 20 minutes of our meat cooking. There we go. Then I'm going to go ahead and dump this in the pan. This is a really easy crust to do. You can buy these graham cracker crusts already made and already in a little disposable aluminum pan if you want. I don't like those as well. To me, they're kind of really hard and crunchy. They're hard to cut. This isn't, I don't know, it's just, this is better. And look, it's not hard at all. Sugar, graham cracker crumbs, and butter. And then you press it into the pan. I like to use a measuring cup to go up the sides with it. It packs it down very nice. You can pack it onto the sides with the side of the cup. So it's kind of easier to get it even this way. You can just use your hands or a spoon also. But I like doing this because it gets it even. Or more even. I almost said evener, but then you would have laughed at me. That's not a word. It's okay, I can make up words. There are no words from now on, as I said. Okay, press it around. Let me see if it feels even. Go. So this will be great for our pie. Oops, get back here. I have like a space where it's have nothing there. It's okay. Just move it around, it'll get there. Okay, there we go. So now I'm actually probably going to see if I can put this in the freezer if I've got room in here. That way it'll firm up quicker. That way it allows the butter to re-solidify and it will not be so crumbly, it'll be set. That's what I want. There we go. In the freezer till we're done. Now let me get that butter off my hands. Then what I am going to do is take my mixer right here and I'm going to take this whisk attachment and I am going to whip up some whipping cream. Now this recipe calls for Cool Whip. I'm not that fond of Cool Whip. It's fake. It's hydrogenated oil. It is not good. And so I'm making real whipped cream just because I can. So there's whipping cream. It's just so much better. Okay, let me go back to my recipe here. Okay, so it needs 8 ounces of Cool Whip, which is 3 cups. I had to look that up one time. It's 3 cups. So, how do you know how to get 3 cups of whipping cream? Well, it's going to double in size. So if you need 3 cups at the end, you want to start with 1.5 cups. So I'm going to start with 1.5 cups of the liquid whipping cream. And I'm going to measure that up here where eye level. Then I'm going to pour the whipping cream into 1.5 cups. That will give me 3 cups of finished whipped cream. There's my 1.5 cups. The other thing is now Cool Whip is also sweetened. Hello, how are you doing? I'm making Sunday dinner. I'm making dessert and dinner. I'm making pepper steak and now I'm making lemon chiffon pie. So because Cool Whip is also sweetened, you want to sweeten your whipped cream. So the rule for sweetened whipped cream is 1 teaspoon per cup. So since I have 1.5 cups, I need 1.5 teaspoons of powdered sugar. But I'm going to go ahead and pour this in here now and let it start whipping. Then I'm going to go get my powdered sugar. Try to get that all to drain out. So this is a little more work than using Cool Whip, but I just like it so much better. It's not that much harder. There we go. Too. I think I told about this before, but in case you missed it, I'm going to put in the powdered sugar. A teaspoon and a half or less. Powdered sugar. I think that's right. You know what? That isn't right. It's 1 teaspoon that I need of this other thing. Actually, what you need is 1/4 cup of sugar. You need 1/4 cup of sugar per cup. So that's, no, wrong sugar. You need 1/4 cup and 2 tablespoons. It's the other ingredient that needs the teaspoon. Okay, so here's 1/4 cup. I didn't think that sounded right. And 1/2 cup. Okay, so that's the total of 6 tablespoons for that amount. Okay, so there's the sugar. Here's the trick. Whipped cream, if you've never made fresh whipped cream, especially unless you eat it right away, will have a tendency to separate and break apart. There's a trick I read in an Amish cookbook one time. This is how you can stabilize whipped cream. There's more than one way, but this is an easy way. Get light corn syrup, put a teaspoon per, this is where a teaspoon came in, a teaspoon per cup of whipping cream. So that's going to be a teaspoon and a half of this corn syrup. This will stabilize the whipped cream so it will not separate on you. And this pie will last, you know, this will last, well, you'll eat it before then, but this would last a week if you didn't eat it before the week was up. Put that in, whip it some more, till it gets pretty whipped cream. Let's see what we're doing. Oh yeah, we are real close there. Okay, so here we go. Let's take it out and look at it. So here, take your little beater and look at your tufts. See, my little tuft is not real stiff, but it's not real soft either. It's Cool Whip consistency. That's what you want. You don't want it to just fall apart. So that's what I like. You can whip your cream however level you like, really. But make it look like Cool Whip, because that's what the consistency you want your pie is. So then, now that I have that, I'm going to take that out of there, because I'm going to reuse that to mix the other ingredients. And you put the whipped cream in at the end. So I'm going to take the whipped cream and put it in a bowl for now. Now, I'm all for shortcuts. I love a lot of shortcuts, but I just don't really like Cool Whip a whole lot. So, some shortcuts just don't taste good enough, and some are okay. So, this is not a shortcut I want. So, I make the whipping cream. So, and you don't have to wash that bowl because you're going to mix it with the whipped cream at the end. So, you don't even have to. Let's take a look at our pepper steak. Let's see what it's doing in my pan. Oh, look at there. Yep, it is cooking nicely. It's got 6 more minutes till we're at that 20-minute mark where I'm going to add the vegetables. Okay, back here to mixing. So this takes 3 ounces of cream cheese. Oh, I had that out. I have that softened right here. I'm going to use the other beater. If you have one of these mixers, you need, it doesn't come with them, but you need to get this beater right here that has the silicone. You never have to scrape the pan, because this will scrape it for you. This is the best thing I've ever added to anything in my life, is adding it to this. It was a great mixer, this KitchenAid. But they don't have that silicone beater. And I ordered it. I probably ordered it from Amazon or something. Just make sure you get the one for your size mixer. You will never use that other one again, because you don't have to scrape the bowl. It scrapes it for you as it goes by. Okay, so then I'm going to cut. I need 3 ounces of this, so I'm going to cut 3 ounces, which is right there. Sometimes you can find cream cheese in that little 3-ounce package. I haven't seen those in the store lately, so that's okay. We cut 3 ounces off the block. The block's cheaper anyway, in the long run, for what you get. Those little 3-ounce ones are expensive. Okay, so put that in there. Again, that is softened cream cheese. It won't mix if you don't soften. It's kind of like butter. It needs to be softened. I'm scraping it off the package. There we go. Then I will put the rest up for another purpose. Put them back in the refrigerator. Then I'm going to add 1 can of condensed milk and half a cup of lemon juice. And that's all that goes in it. So easy. Okay, here's my can of condensed milk. Condensed milk is the one that's Eagle brand. You do not have to buy the name brand. But it's not the evaporated milk. Make sure it's the sweetened condensed milk. I would buy the cheaper generic, except for one thing. That's the one thing. The name brand comes with a pop top. If you have ever opened one of these little things on your can opener, it will goo stuff all over your can opener, and it is not worth. It's worth the extra 20 cents or something, dude. Whatever, I don't know, 50 cents, whatever it is. It's worth it for this. Look at that. Ah! They should have done that, 50 years ago. No mess. So the name brand is worth it to me for the Pop Top. Then I pour it in here, and I actually will take this can, because it takes forever to come out, and I just prop it up there and let it drain its little self. And then I'm going to add half a cup of lemon juice while that's doing that. And this is my favorite lemon squeezer. Put a half in there, do that, you're done. Very, very fast. Okay, so let's see. Looking for another measuring cup. Here's one. That I can get half a cup of lemon juice. So here's my lemons. I also have the lemons room temperature. I've also heard that makes them juice better. I don't know. I've never, tried to compare it. So I assume that's correct. So I'm going to put a paper towel down, because this always makes such a mess. I'm going to cut the lemon in half. I usually cut off, it has this little knobby end. I cut that off because it doesn't squeeze very well in that squeezer. So if it has knobby ends, cut the knobbies off. Cut it in half, then you have half your lemon. Put it in this little squeezer. I just got this at Bed Bath & Beyond. It doesn't get seeds. It squeezes and poof, you're done. Look how fast that is. It's so wonderful. It smells so good. I love the smell of lemons. I gotta see what we're doing here. How far we are into it. Let me get another one. Okay, this one has one little knobby end. Cut that off. Cut it in half. This is a gigantic lemon. This was half. Look how huge that is. I hope it'll fit in this squeezer. Okay, there we go. Oh, we got one beat. That means we got 1 minute left before it's time to add to my pepper steak. The other half. See, it presses so much easier when it has a flat surface to press on. We're almost there. Only one more lemon. And we have 40 seconds to go on this stove. Okay, cut off the little ends. Cut it in half. See, look how much juice that gets out of there. Such a good, thorough squeezer is what this is. I don't know that I need this entire half a lemon, because I'm pretty close. Yep, at half a cup. Okay, so I'm going to pour the half a cup in there with the other. We're still draining our little milk, our sweetened condensed milk. And in the meantime, I'm going to flip over here to this, because that's going to beep. I'm going to turn it up so it's real super hot again, because I'm going to add these vegetables. Turn off the beeper. Then here we have our red and green pepper and Vidalia onion. You can use any onion. Like I said, the recipe calls for green onions. And it calls for celery. But instead, I just add more pepper and I use the Vidalia. I do what I want. I make it my way. Then you're just going to dump it in there with it. The meat has soy sauce and ginger and some black pepper. If you want to make it spicy, you could add some cayenne pepper. Or any kind of something, anything spicy you like. Spicy sauce or something. Sriracha. Cayenne pepper would do it though, like the red pepper. So then, and the recipe, again, this calls for a chuck steak, but I like to buy the kind that's already cut in strips that says for fajitas or stir fry. Because it's, and then I make it smaller pieces and it's just so much easier. So then I'm going to let that cook in there. Now I've got to let that come up to heat a little bit. Once that really starts bubbling, we are going to cover it and let it cook for 10 more minutes. And you can cook your vegetables to whatever doneness you like. As long as the meat's done, if you like real crispy vegetables, real soft vegetables, and you could, if you don't like one or the other of these, do something different. I am going to go ahead and put the lid on. I'm just going to check it again real quick. And turn it down. Okay, here we go. Back to the pie. So I'm going to go ahead and take off this. See, this is pretty well drained completely. I don't have to scrape and scrape and scrape it. I find my own ways to make stuff easier. Then then we are going to get all this sticky off my hand. Let me put you down for a minute here. Don't laugh at my stand. It's 2 jars of peanut butter. Hey, it's free. Okay, here we go. There's my pie. Then I'm going to lift this up. Woo! Slow. I went a little crazy. Start slow. Then speed it up. Just got a bath in that too. Okay, now that's pretty well mixed, but if you look at this, you'll see it's incredibly lumpy. I didn't actually mix my cream cheese first. I want to take all this off. So I'll show you what I do, because it usually does that anyway. Even though that cream cheese was softened, it loves to stay lumpy. So all I'm going to do is take a whisk and stir it by hand, and I'm going to get those lumps out of there. Even if it's lumpy, it really won't matter. It'll taste the same. So don't get insanely worried if you have lumps in the pie. But I don't want gigantic lumps in there. So just stir it with a whisk. You probably could put the whisk attachment back on there, but I didn't. Here, I'm going to turn that a little bit. There we go. Then, once you get that done, you want to start putting your whipped cream in there, and you want to put about half. Fold that in there gently. You don't want to deflate it. And what you do, the reason you put half is because it will get this whole mixture to be lighter, and you kind of sort of sacrifice half of the whipped cream, and that allows the other half to stay fluffier. But it works. So now your batter is a little, it's not batter, but your filling is a little lighter, and then it won't deflate the rest of the whipped cream, because you want to keep that as fluffy as you can, because it's so much better that way. Okay, so then, and you can do this with the electric mixer, but you don't really need to. I mean, look at this. Oh, it's going to be so good. Light and fluffy, and I'm going to take this whisk out now. I want to get my spatula. Because the real way you need to do this is to go under it and turn. Under and turn. You're kind of flipping it on itself. Like this. Otherwise, you're just going to have the whipped cream at the top and the good stuff at the bottom. So you've got to pull up from the bottom and turn it over. Pull up from the bottom. See, I turned the spatula. Pull up from the bottom, turn it over. Then we get it completely nice and fluffy. So you don't really see lumps. And like I said, teeny tiny lumps you won't even taste. If you do, they'll taste good. Then, let's go back to our original position. There we go. Got our filling. Actually, what I want to put there is my pie dish. Ooh. Get that out of the freezer. That butter will be all set in there now. If you prefer to pre-bake that a little bit to make it it kind of makes it a little sweeter and a little crispier. If you want to do that, you can do that. I just didn't turn on the oven because it's too hot right now. So that's totally up to you. It can be a pie made totally without the oven. Oh, let me get my little stuff over here. We are checking my, oh, it's actually doing pretty good. I need to time it though. And set a timer. There we go. For 10 more minutes, and I'm going to kind of look at it and stir it. Put my lid back on. Okay, so here's my pie. Oops, that didn't work. Okay, there we go. And we're just going to pour this in. This is backward to me, but it's straight to you. Pour this nice fluffy stuff. This is so good. Now I will tell you how you need to serve this. Put it in the freezer, leave it in the freezer, serve it straight from the freezer. It never gets real hard, and it's almost like ice cream pie. It stays real cold, but you can cut it and you can eat it. But look at the fluff in this. Ooh, so yummy. And you don't need a big piece of this either. This stuff is really rich. It's really lemony. You can cut you a very thin piece. So this will go a long way. This pie. All you do is spread it in here. Look, we are done with the pie. How easy was that? No baking, no more heat in the kitchen. Okay, just kind of get all the rest in there. It is sticky, so sticky. Get all that off my hands. Now I'm going to put that back in the freezer. And then after it freezes, I'll cover it with like plastic wrap or something. Okay, let's see. I have enough room. Put that back up in here without it hitting the top. We'll worry about that later. We'll just put the pie back in the freezer. There you go. Oh, that's going to be so good tomorrow. Perfect season for the pie. Okay, here's our meal. See, we're sizzling. We're starting to absorb some of that soy sauce. Now, while this is still cooking and softening these vegetables, this is going to be so good. I'm going to make what will make the sauce. So I like to make a little more sauce than what the recipe says because I like a lot of gravy. So I'm going to use, it calls for a cup of water. I'm going to use a cup and a half. Oh, let me find my recipe again. Where'd you go? Here he is. Cup and a half of water. Cup and a half of water and a tablespoon and a half of cornstarch. So let me get one of my mixing bowls here. Where'd that little one go I had? Here it is. I had my lemon juice in it. Let's rinse that out. A cup and a half of water. Almost there. Okay. And I have one of these filter jugs. I'm going to run that water through the filter jug so it'll be good water. Then I'm going to measure my cornstarch. Here, we'll put it right there so you can see. So a tablespoon and a half. So a tablespoon. There's a tablespoon of cornstarch. Then a half. You want to do it exact. That's a teaspoon. It's a tablespoon plus a teaspoon plus a half a teaspoon. That's a tablespoon and a half. 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon plus a half a teaspoon. Okay, so let me put a few of these things away. My water is filtering. Let's check our vegetables again. See what else do I have over here I can put away. These graham crackers can be put away. Put up my corn syrup and throw away these lemons. You can hear that running. That water running is so hilarious. Okay. I promise that's just water running through the filter. Okay, so we're getting pretty close here to where we can add the water. And it's almost done draining. So when it gets done draining, I'm going to put that in. Add another spoon to stir. I'm going to throw away these lemons. Kind of like to throw away lemons. It makes trash cans smell good. Smells like lemons. There we go. Clean up all this mess I have over here. And I'm almost done with dinner. Now what I do with this when I'm done making it is I will make either rice or mashed potatoes. I love it over mashed potatoes, but it just depends on, am I in the mood to make mashed potatoes or rice? And I'll make whichever one I feel like making. Sometimes I make a little of both, and then one day I'll eat it with the mashed potatoes, and then the next day I'll eat the leftovers with the rice. So kind of like having two meals. Say is that there's our 1.5 cups. There. Okay, so then we take our 1.5 cups of water. We add in our 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch that does not want to come out of the bowl. We'll get it out of the bowl. Go there. Must have been some dampness in that bowl, probably from that steam right there. Alright, then we stir it till it's completely dissolved. Then I've got this already on pretty high. And then all we do is pour this right in. And then we let that come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, it has completely thickened as much as it's going to thicken. So we put on our lid, let it come to a boil, and then basically it's done. So as you see, this was a fairly easy, quick, easy dinner. Just have to make rice or mashed potatoes. If you want some other vegetable, of course you can make that, but you do have onions and red and green pepper in there, so you kind of already have vegetables in there. Make mashed potatoes or rice, and then you have dinner, and in the freezer, dessert. So you're not overheating your house too much with the stove. This takes about half an hour to cook. Okay, so that's starting to bubble. I want it to kind of bubble everywhere. And look how good that looks. Ooh, yummy. It makes some, with adding that extra 1/2 cup of water and the extra 1/2 teaspoon of cornstarch, it makes a more gravy. So I have modified it to make the extra gravy, because that's the best part. Otherwise, we were scraping the bottom of the pan saying, I need more gravy, I need more gravy. There's no more gravy. I'll just make more gravy. Look at that. Oh my goodness. I haven't made this in quite a while. Look at it bubble. Okay, so like I said, once it bubbles like this, it's done. I mean, this is as thick as it'll get. Here we can see this nice thick broth. See? This isn't much of a spoon for it, but nice thick broth. So I'm going to go and turn that off. We are done. But I do want to taste test one of these pieces of meat, see if it got tender. So let's take it out. And we're going to let it sit there a minute. So I do not burn my mouth. We'll put on the lid. And then later, I do have some potatoes here. I'll probably make mashed potatoes. I like mashed potatoes better, and so does my dad. My mom likes rice better, so I'm probably going to make both rice and mashed potatoes, because rice is like 0 effort, really. 0. And then mashed potatoes, it's basically peeling and cutting potatoes. There is just a little more effort, but they're so good. Alright, let's see how this does. Oh, yeah. Tender. That's all you need. Half an hour simmer. If you feel like it needs salt, if it needs more flavor, you can add. But that, I don't need my timer anymore. Look, I timed it pretty well, didn't I? Okay. There we go. Let's try this. Eating meat. So there we go. Dinner for Sunday. Only takes half an hour to cook. Pie takes 0 time to cook. Goes right from mixing to the freezer. You're not heating up your house, your kitchen. Great summer meal. You're barely heating up the kitchen, I should say, for the stove. Minimal time. And normally I would cook the potatoes and the rice at the same time. I would not cook them later. So you still only have like half hour of heat. So I hope you all try this meal. It's called pepper steak. And the icebox pie is lemon chiffon pie. Let me know if you try it and if you like it. And I hope you all have a great day at church on Sunday. Good night.